Torna a Fem Ciència, una sèrie per repensar el feminisme, la història i la cultura científica. Aquesta quarta temporada està dedicada a la història mediambiental. Avui parlarem amb Yixuan Li, investigadora predoctoral al Centre d'Història de la Ciència, la Tecnologia i la Medicina de la Universitat de Manchester. El seu tema d'estudi és la cria de pollastres extensiva, concretament a Xina. És la història de la ciència sexista?
I think it's getting less and less sexist. And my understanding about whether it's being sexist or not is like it's more depends on topics and areas. Say from my study, like I'm doing a history of science and animal studies. I think there are more and more women have been involved in this topic or in this area. Probably they show more cares about animals, or it's just my perspective.
Quin paper té la història de la ciència en la lluita pel canvi climàtic?
I think the historians look at the histories of the past stories, or sometimes they're doing retrospective studies on the contemporary issues, or adopt a reflective approach by looking at the past. I think we're more prone to be mindful of the long-lasting impacts or changes that would happen afterwards, like after the incident happened, after the case happened. For example, the Richard Carson, who wrote The Silent Spring, I think it is a very good case, like the comment on the use of DDT, especially the drawback of pesticides on the environment, has been proved correct many years after it was being put forward by Richard Carson. And it's like her prophecy has been proved right afterwards, even though she received a lot of intense attacks.
El teu objecte d'estudi són els pollastres per carn, no els galls o les gallines. Què són els pollastres actualment, a part d'aliments? Què ens permeten estudiar? Quin paper tenen en el canvi climàtic?
So basically, I classify the chicken as two categories. One is the hens, or what we call layers. And what I'm studying is the meat tier, which is called the broilers, or meat-type chicken. So I didn't classify them by genders, but by their uses. And I think there is less classification of the gender on broilers. They could be both female and male. What do they allow us to study? I think they could be both. The chickens themselves could be both producers or the labor forces, like for producing meat, or they could be just classified as productive forces themselves. So it depends on where we are in the whole production chain. And so far, role in climate change, I would probably talk about the emission of the greenhouse gas. The emission, it could be controversial because they say for the chicken, they've got a shorter lifespan and a higher feed conversion rate. So that probably could help reduce the emission of the greenhouse gas. Well, on the other hand, because they are currently domesticated massively in a very intensive way. So the energy use of the intensive farms, or the use of food additives, or the management of the digitalized farms could generate more gases. So I think there's no quite a secured answer to this question now.
Com a través de la cadena moderna de producció de carn els humans han transformat animals com els pollastres en artefactes tecnocientífics?
From my perspective, the first is the use of science and technologies to the animals, like the application of the hybrid techniques and the modern molecular biology. They are using this kind of techniques as a new knowledge to modify the chickens, not like, I think it's different from the GMO food. I would see them as different things. For the broilers, they just the experts or the scientists just hybrid them by different breeds. Use the molecular technologies probably to trace the DNA to help them better improve the genes and adapt them to, let's say, they use this kind of technology to adapt the chickens to a fast-growing breed with a higher efficiency of the feed conversion to meet the market's need. And with the help of modern science and technology, scientists have been able to shorten the growing time from, say, 90 days to 42 days. The second one could be the growth of other industry to support this kind of transformation of the chicken. So the modern food industry have developed alongside the meat industry. I think this is why I see this from the perspective of the industrialization. The third one is from the perspective of consumption. For example, the fast food industry, like the McDonald's and the KFC, the majority of the chicken they are used is this kind of broiler or white broilers. So they could have cheaper meat and with a lower cost. And the fourth one is about the trade. I think currently the chicken meat has become become a more important source of the protein, or the primary source of protein of the meat. So more and more people are eating meat currently compared with the past. Therefore, they are more crucial to the national food security, especially the breeding techniques. One of the facts is the dominant race of the broilers are controlled by just 2 or 3 Western Western poultry companies. For example, in the UK, like 80 to 90% of the chicken, for them, the breeds are from the dominant Western countries, not to mention those developing countries. And in China, we've managed to develop our own chicken breeds, but we still massively rely on the import of the breeders from other countries. And if they stop the supply, there would be a huge influence on the domestic chicken production, because the whole production chain, let's say the production pyramid or the breeding pyramid, rely heavily on the source of the breeding lines.
Com va ser la transformació de l'agricultura individual i de pati a l'agricultura industrial a la Xina?
I'd say there is a very fast shift in the past 2 decades happening in this industry after the 1980s. So basically, after what is called reform and opening up, China opened this market to the Western or to other parts of the world. So it could have had imported the Western breeding techniques and their management and production system, which is called the integrated model in poultry farming. We learn the techniques and the science, technologies, and the farming practices from other countries as a way of, so for example, as a way of absorbing new knowledge, science and technology, and the domestic productivity, such as the land and labor. We set up many Sino-foreign companies to progress the modern chicken agribusiness. And there are also some agricultural policy support to boost this kind of transformation from backyard to industry production from the side of the government or the policymaker.
El canvi d'aquestes pràctiques va afectar les dinàmiques socials de la Xina, especialment en entorns rurals. Quin paper tenen les dones en la cria d'aus de corral a la Xina?
I think this is a very good question because I didn't think about this before, but I did notice something when I was looking at archives, especially the local newspapers of the animal husbandry. They did advertise some women, like their stories in farming animals like a successful model. I think probably because there were many women in rural areas back in days working like spare labor force. They could not be engaged in crop planting. So they were just doing something else, like babysitting at home. And the animal husbandry kind of required less physical work as like for the labor forces. So the women could participate in the modern chicken farming by taking care of the chickens, especially after some kind of modern farms and plants were set up. They could just take care of the machines. On the other hand, I think probably the women could have more time to working on like learning, reading, researching, and they probably could be able to show more care about the animals. So they know how to take care of the animals. Like they were captured back in then. They were more likely to be characterized as animal carers and researchers in a way.
Com ha evolucionat la relació entre humans i espècies no humanes en el context de la indústria càrnica, especialment pel que fa a l'autonomia i al benestar animal?
I think the coexistence of animal and human have massively changed regarding the animal's agency. I think the chickens are more living like a collectivity, not individual ones. Previously, when the farmers like domesticated the chickens, they could be like in the backyard, they could be easily counted by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like these numbers. But currently, they just became those like big numbers or statistics. They work more functionally as a group or as a flock or a number, or group number, and this probably would indicate the development of the industry, like the consumption, the production. So I think the agency definitely have been changed. And about the welfare, it could be controversial because we can't simply say they have better or worse welfare just because they are domesticated massively. Because for many of them, currently they are now domesticated in, as we mentioned before, the digitalized farms, which could help them reduce the disease because the farmers or technicians could control the temperature, the moisture, the humidity in the farms to keep the chicken under management. So they are well monitored, even though I know they have lost their freedoms as a living creature. But do they really need that freedom? I think that might be another question. If they're just simply classified or working as commodities or the producers, say, or a production machine, do they really need that freedom? Or if they don't need the freedom, does it mean that they probably do not need a better, they probably are having a better welfare because this kind of modern management system could help reduce the disease. But basically, I think we could discuss the welfare of the chickens, like in the intensive farming system in many various ways, and not just limit the answers in a certain perspectives.
Com influeixen les percepcions socials sobre la carn intervinguda biotecnològicament en la confiança dels consumidors a Xina?
I think the controversies came from the use of the drugs, especially after there have been more and more news and reports kind of disclose the drug use in animal feeds and disease treatment. So people have started to worry about eating chicken alongside the residues of the drugs. Or they start to be worried, is it harmful? And is it because of the use of the drug that makes the chicken grow so fast? Or is it harmful to humans? So that was a huge discussion back then, probably still ongoing. I think after these kind of controversies came up, the government, say in China, the government have paid more attention to the regulations and standardization of farming. And they paid more attention to the science communication, like how to make the general public, the people aware that the chicken currently they are healthy, they're not harmful, and the use of the drugs are under controlled or managed.
Thank you very much, Yixuan. Aquest ha estat el 7è episodi de Fem Ciència. No us perdeu els següents. Fins aviat.